Hey everyone, I'm Chad, one of the boot experts here at Powder7 in Golden, Colorado. Today, we're here to talk about one of the most overwhelming things in skiing, buying ski boots. There's no substitution to going to see your local qualified boot fitter, so if you have the opportunity to do so, please go do that, but we understand that's not always the case. Hopefully some of these tips and guidelines will help you find your next perfect pair of ski boots, even if you can't go see your local boot fitter. Most of the time when you start out skiing and you're renting ski boots, they give you boots that are way too big. Our goal is to get you in boots that'll last you several seasons, so we want to get you in the perfect size right off the bat. Everyone and every foot is a little different. These guidelines will work for most people out there, but there are exceptions depending on your foot and the type of skier that you are. The most important thing in skiing is the fit of your boots. There's an old common misconception that your boots have to be super tight and uncomfortable to get a good day skiing, but that's not actually the case anymore with all the different models and shapes out there. We want boots to be comfortably snug so that you can properly control your skis, but we don't want them to fit so tight that you're in pain. We want you to be able to ski the entire day. When you're trying on a ski boot for the first time, remember that's the tightest that it's ever going to fit. The main things to consider when buying your ski boots are the length or the size, the last or the width, and the instep height. Remember, most people's feet are a little different, so you want to measure both feet to make sure that there aren't any extreme differences for you to consider. The first thing to consider when buying your ski boots is the length or the size. Ski boots come in what is called mondopoint sizing, which is essentially just the length from toe to heel of your ski boots measured in centimeters. Most people don't have the tools that we have here at the shop to measure at home. So what we suggest is taking a piece of paper, laying it on the ground, backing your heel up to the wall, and marking the longest length of your toe on that piece of paper. Then all you have to do is measure in centimeters, and there's your mondopoint size. Most ski boots only come in half mondopoint size, so 26.5, 27.5, etc. So if you're between sizes, say you measure 27.0, it kind of depends on how you are as a skier. If you're looking for the most performance out of the ski boot, you probably want to downsize half a size to 26.5 below. But if you're looking for more comfort, you might want to consider sizing up to 27.5. One thing we never recommend is sizing up more than a half size. If you do that, it's pretty much a guarantee that your boots will fit too big in the long run. Ideally, when you put a brand new ski boot on and get it buckled up, your toe should be touching the end just a little bit. You should barely be touching, and then when you flex forward, it should back away a little bit and you should wiggle your toes and be able to tickle the end. We don't want you to cram your toes into the end. That means it's going to be way too tight. But if you put your ski boots on and you can't touch the end at all, that means they're eventually going to fit way too big for you. The next thing to consider with your ski boots is the width, or the last. This is generally measured in millimeters, and it is the widest part up at the forefoot. For most skiers and ski boots, this is going to be from 97 to about 104 millimeters. If you have a narrow foot, you're going to want to look at 97 to 99 millimeters. If you have a medium width or an average foot, 99 to 101 millimeters. If you have a wide foot, generally you're going to want to look at boots with 101 millimeters or wider last. Narrow last doesn't always mean higher performance. Say you're a really aggressive skier and you naturally have a really wide foot. There are boots out there where you can have 101 or 102 last and still get a very aggressive skiing boot. All right, you have your size and your width. Now on to the next thing. The height or the instep of the boot is the measurement over the top of the foot, and it's often one of the most important parts of the foot. A properly fitting instep keeps your heel back and locked into the boot, giving you the best performance possible. If your instep is too high, often you have to crank down on the buckles way too hard, and this causes too many pressure points all throughout the boot. But on the flip side, if your instep is too low, that can just cut off circulation consistently throughout the day, leading to numb toes. Unfortunately, there's no industry standard for instep height. So if you know you have a generally high or low arch, give us a call and we can probably make a good suggestion for what boot would work best for your instep. All right, so we have all the measurements that we need to get the perfect fitting boots, but you're still not quite sure what to choose. Here's a few things that can help you out. One thing I like to ask people in store is, what's your ideal day of skiing? I want to know what your expectations are as a skier, and that can determine how tight or loose we fit your boot. Some people might want to be hiking up big mountain lines, skiing really fast, and some people might just want to go enjoy a day skiing with their family. That person that's skiing really hard, they're typically going to want a tighter fitting boot to have more controls over their skis. But if you're just cruising with your family, there's no need to really size down a ton and be in pain, so we can generally get you a little more comfortable fit. We do want to avoid extreme ends of the spectrum. Even if you are that hard-charging skier and you want really tight-fitting boots, we don't want to fit so tight that you're not going to be able to ski from first to last chair. Even if you are just cruising groomers with your kids, we still don't want your boots to fit so loose that they feel like slippers. You still need to be able to control your skis, and more often than not, if a boot's too big, it will cause more pain than if a boot fits properly. All right, we have your fit dialed in. Now we want to look at flex of the boot. The flex is how much pressure it takes to flex this boot forward and control your skis. The flex, it's just this arbitrary number that manufacturers assign, so there's no exact measurement. Typically, in most boots that you'll see in the market today, you'll see a flex range from about 80 to 130, even a little higher depending on how aggressive of a skier you are. Finding the proper flex of your ski boot is determined by your height and weight, but also your skier ability. Say you're a skier who's 5'7", 160 pounds, but you're a really aggressive skier, you might ski in the same flex boot as someone who's 6'4", or 230 pounds if they're an intermediate skier. If you're in a proper flexing ski boot, you should be able to get your knees just over your toes without exerting too much force. For men, we generally recommend a flex range of about 100 to 110 if you're a beginner or intermediate skier. If you're an advanced skier, around 110 to 120. And if you're an expert, generally 120 to 130 plus. For women, we want to look at flexes around 85 to 95 for beginner or intermediate skiers. If you're an advanced skier, you can look at a flex around 95 to 105. And if you're an expert, you can look at 105, 115, or even higher. Generally, women are a little shorter and lighter weight than men. That's why we typically see their boots on the softer side of things. But if I see a badass lady come in, I will not hesitate to put her in a stiffer boot. All right, we have the flex and the fit figured out of the boots. Next, we got to figure out what type of boot you need. This will be different for somebody who's doing hot laps at the resort or touring up a big backcountry line or doing something somewhere in between. The first type of boot we have is going to be your Alpine or resort boot. These boots typically have a bolted back. This gives you the most downhill performance you can get in the resort. In the past, these boots might have come with hard Alpine soles that you've seen and slipped around. Most boots now come with what we call grip walk soles that have a little rubberized finish, but still work with most Alpine downhill bindings. On the other end of the spectrum, we have your Alpine touring boots. These typically have your metal tech inserts in the toe and heel. They're made out of lighter weight plastic. They'll typically have a walk mode and full rubber sole on the outside. These boots are designed to walk uphill and make your day in the backcountry easier, but they can sacrifice a little bit of downhill performance. That is why boots like this have become so popular in the past few years. We call these your hybrid or free touring boots. Something like this is going to ski equally well in the resort as it does in the backcountry. These you'll find with metal tech inserts in the toe and heel for your tech bindings, a walk mode in the back for walking uphill, but they're generally made with heavier plastic and more downhill-oriented geometry to make sure you have the best downhill performance. All right, we already talked about the differences between flexes of men's and women's boots, but what about the fit? For the most part, they're the same fit, but a lot of times in women's boots, you'll see that they have a shorter cuff height with what we call a tulip cuff. This just accommodates the calf, which sits lower on the leg than a men's calf. All right, we can't have a ski boot conversation in 2024 without talking about BOA. In the 2023 and 2024 season, BOA partnered with 4 different manufacturers to create a new closure system for Alpine ski boots. Instead of your traditional buckles that you would find on the top of the boots, they replaced it with a cable system and a dial. This isn't your typical BOA that you would find on your bike shoes or golf shoes even. They beefed this cable and dial up a ton to meet the needs of alpine skiing. Now, I could make a whole video about BOA ski boots, but I'll leave it at this. If you're in the correct fitting ski boot and your length, width, height, everything is correct, will BOA make it fit better? Definitely. But if you're in the completely wrong ski boot, is BOA gonna be the magical thing that solves all your problems? No. We're excited to see BOA partnering with several other brands in the industry, so keep your eyes peeled over the next few years to see what else they have to offer. All right, you figured out the fit of your ski boots, you got what type you need, but now you want them to fit a little bit better. We recommend pretty much everybody get some form of supportive insole. The foot is naturally unstable. It's that way to provide suspension while we're walking, hiking, running, whatever it may be. But skiing is a little different mechanics. In skiing, we want our feet to be as locked in as possible to give us as much control of our skis as we can get. To do this, we want to have some form of supportive insole underneath our foot. This prevents any side-to-side rocking in our ski boots that causes hot spots or movement throughout the day. Insoles can range from something like this that we call a drop-in or trim-to-fit insert. This gives you most of the support you need, and the benefit is you typically don't have to see a boot fitter to get one of these. You can buy one of these on our website, try it on, and then trim it to fit inside of your boots. If you do have the opportunity to see a boot fitter, you can look at something like this. This is fully custom made to your foot. It's gonna get you the most support possible, but you do have to go see a boot fitter to get something like this made. All right, I know that was a ton of information, but I hope some of this knowledge helps you find your next pair of ski boots, whether it be getting your first pair coming off of rentals or getting dialed in for your next season of big lines. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call or come see us here at Powder7 in Golden, Colorado.